So the other day, my sister asked me a pretty interesting question, which is, who exactly are the old masters in art? She was chatting with a coworker and the topic came up, and while we all have this idea, this image of the European white older male at the easel, very seriously contemplating his work on his masterpiece, she wanted to know who exactly are we talking about when we use the term old masters. It turns out the answer is both super simple and also kind of complicated. And of course, like any good younger sister, I made a whole video to explain it. Hey guys, it's Karen here. Welcome back to Little Art Talks, or welcome if you're brand new. Thanks for joining us. If you like videos about art and art history, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel because it really helps a lot. We appreciate you here. And also a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/littlearttalks who make these videos a reality. Okay, let's first answer the question, which is probably the answer Carmen really wanted and probably what you're expecting clicking into this video, which is a list of the old masters that are, generally considered old masters. Old masters can be pretty much any highly recognized artist who lived around the 1450s to the 1800s, which is pretty much everything in between medieval and modern art. I am going to do my best to pronounce these names, but I will probably fail, so I apologize in advance. I'm trying my best and I'm open to learning. I think in general, the first thing that comes to mind are Italian high Renaissance painters. And if you want a good trick for remembering them, just think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So you have Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Donatello. Though technically Donatello is a little bit more early Renaissance. It also includes later artists like Caravaggio and Titian. It's not just Italian, we also include Dutch artists like Vermeer, Van Eyck, Bosch, Bruegel, and Rembrandt. Even later French artists like Georges de la Tour, Jacques-Louis David, Jean-Auguste Dominique Angres, and Eugene Delacroix. English artists like J.M.W. Turner and John Constable, as well as Spanish artists like Diego Velázquez, El Greco, and Bartolomé Esteban Murillo. I'm mentioning a lot of painters, but we can also include sculptors like Bernini or printmakers like Albert Cadera and Francisco Goya. You might notice by now we're talking about a pretty wide time frame, as well as talking about multiple different countries with different cultures, different trends, different styles. So it's important to note that this isn't any particular trend or movement or period. There's no stylistic things shared between all of them. My list of old masters might not look like your list of the old masters versus Christie's list of the old masters or the Met's list of old masters. There's no official list where everyone receives an award once they're declared an old master. Instead, what we see is more institutions that use it. So if a museum does a show titled Old Masters, anyone who is shown in that show is considered an old master. Or another common place we see it is in art trade, art market, art auctions, that sort of setting where, they're going to divide artworks that are being auctioned off that day into old masters, 19th century, and then modern contemporary art. This is a really wide time frame we're talking about 400 years. It includes periods and movements like early Renaissance, High Renaissance, Northern Renaissance, Spanish Renaissance, Mannerism, Baroque, Dutch Golden Age, Rococo, Neoclassicism, Romanticism, and everything in between. Now, I do want to take a moment to talk a little bit about the controversies of using this term old masters. There's been quite a few art historians, curators, and writers who have argued that old masters is just kind of an outdated term. It's been criticized for its sexist, racial, and classist undertones, that it aggrandizes the white European male artists while excluding other genders and ethnicities. In the 1980s, feminist art historians, including Griselda Pollock and Rosita Parker, questioned the male-centric bias of the term Old Masters, and they suggested that we needed more inclusive language for a wider understanding of art history's rich complexity. In the iconic 1971 essay by art historian Linda Laughlin, Why Have There Been No Great Women Artists?, she writes about institutional forces hindering female artists' professional success. There are no women equivalents for Michelangelo or Rembrandt, Delacroix or Cézanne, Picasso or Matisse, any more than there are Black American equivalents for the same thing, she wrote. We don't have more female or non-white famous artists because they are lacking in skills or talent, but rather because of patriarchy and society preventing them from entering these spaces in the first place. Now, we do know there were a few women artists that were able to overcome a lot of these immense obstacles. Back when you were expected to just get married and have kids or join a nunnery, you weren't really able to pursue any sort of career, but there were a few who were able to overcome these obstacles. Women were not allowed to go to art school, so they had to have private instruction. Women were not allowed to get patrons, get state commissions, or win any contests, so they had to be independently wealthy, probably from their own parents, and a lot of them just had really, really terrible coworkers. So I could make a whole video about this. I think it's super fascinating, but that's kind of besides the point, so I will move on. And yet, even the women who are able to overcome all these, nasty obstacles, they were mostly erased from history. The thing is, this is not a new thing. This happens all the time in history, unfortunately. As inspirational Pinterest loves to say, history is written by the victors, which, if you think about it, is not a very inspirational quote, and actually, frankly, quite dark. Because for the entire history that we're talking about in the areas that we're talking about, history is entirely white male dominated. These are the people who are making the art. These are the people who decide which art is good. These are the people who have the money to purchase art from people they like. These are the people who are teaching the school, so forming the next generation of artists and deciding who gets to get in, who gets to learn those instructions, just all of these things stacking atop of each other. And when you have that one dominant narrative, that becomes sort of the de facto art history, whether it's a good thing or not, which we know by now is not a good thing. We know now we need more voices in the room and have more varied, nuanced stories to tell about history. But back then, this is just how things worked. And so that's how phrases like this become super ingrained into our society. People understand what old masters are, even if they can only name a handful of them. It's prevalent in the media, in the art market, and museums. And I get it, it's a really appealing, buzzy PR word. If I was running an art auction house and I'm trying to sell this painting for as much money as possible, am I going to attract more customers by saying, French old master from the 15th century, or am I going to attract more customers just saying French painter from 1800s? I think I said 2 different time periods, but whatever, you get it. Art historians since the 1970s have been working to restore many of these women artists back to light, calling them female old masters or old mistresses. I don't know if I like the word old mistresses any more than old masters, but okay. These women include Artemisia Gentileschi, Elizabeth Louis Vigy Lebrun, Lavinia Fontana, and sofonisba anguissola. What do you guys think? Should we just continue using this term because everyone already understands what it means and we're already doing work to include women who deserve recognition within this umbrella term of old masters / old mistresses? Or do you think we should move towards a completely different term, one that sort of captures that time period, culture, and, history a little bit better? Or a third option, which is if this term is even needed, there's great artists in all time periods, why limit it to just this time period? I would love to hear what you guys think, and if you think option B is the way to go, I'd love to hear your submissions on some new terms to use. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something new. I do think that it is important to talk about the language that we use when talking about history or art history. I love all of the artists that we talked about today. This is not saying old masters, the people, are overrated. I'm just asking if the word old masters is outdated or necessary anymore in this day and age. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. Thanks so much for liking and subscribing and ringing the bell if you do. Thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. If you would like to support our channel, please visit patreon.com/littlearttalks to learn how you can support and get lots of behind the scenes polls, shape the channel a little bit. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! And let me know if you want to see a whole video about the women, because some of the things they go through, oh my gosh.